Bryson.
Wow.
Standy, how's it going? Wait.
Hey, guys.
You guys in the casting pair today?
How's it going, bruv?
What's going on? Good to see you guys.
Well, I've hit the upgrade in terms of duo partners and probably a downgrade for Study, but I am kind of covering at the moment, but we're getting into this game and I'm looking forward to working with you, Jay.
Yeah, bro, we're about to have an intense series right ahead of us. We've known each other for such a long time, and we expect greatness, at least for both of these squads. The way that Boston Breach have been turning up so far throughout this stage, 3-1, taking on the likes of OpTic Texas, taking on the likes of Seattle, who are most recent major champions. This team, ever since making that roster change, has been looking in prime form. And on the opposite side for Toronto Ultra, it's been a struggle for them, man. The only series that they have underneath their belt this stage has to be the reverse sweep versus LAG. They fall short to Atlanta FaZe, they fall short to London, and it's all because of their struggles in Hardpoint and in Search and Destroy. They have to pick it up here.
Yeah, that's the real key here for Ultra. Obviously, a lot of faith was put into them after Major 3. It hasn't been plain sailing. On the other side of it, a resurgent Boston Breach. A team that we thought were backsliding all the way through the hardest schedule of any team coming into Major number 4, and they've made it look pretty comfortable as well. Taking this scalp against Ultra will be ridiculous.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Boston because there's a couple maps in the maps and modes for them that just are not really in their favor. That Gavutu Hardpoint, they're currently on a 5-game losing streak there. The Gavutu Control hasn't been their best control map all season long. And even on that Berlin Hardpoint, we heard that that's touched on it. They're currently 2-0 with this roster. But Toronto Ultra, they're 6-1 in their last 7 on Berlin Hardpoint. So this is going to be tough. For me, I think that this series simply comes down to the Search and Destroy. It's been a struggle for Boston ever since making that roster change so far in this stage. Their overall record of 1-3, and on the opposite side for Toronto, a team who we thought was fairly great at Search and Destroy, they've also been struggling as well in this stage. It's gonna simply just come down to 2-5 for me, Bryce.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. Ultra haven't looked pretty. Boston have looked pretty great. And we've been talking a lot about the points here in the CDL, of course. This is where they both sit. Boston Breach at 160 and Toronto Ultra at 150. Theoretically, in the bubble, if things go wrong for everybody involved. But a win here will make Boston incredibly comfortable heading to the major. For Ultra, it'll be a little bit of recovery. They want to get as far away from this bubble as possible, Stud.
Yeah, Toronto need to get as far away as they possibly can because all these other teams underneath them are starting to get a lot of wins. Falling fairly close into that top 8. You have the 7th team currently at 140, the 8th team at 135, and every other team basically 20 to 15 points out of that top 8. So if you're Ultra, you need to build some cushion. You need to get into that form that you were at stage 3, at your own major, getting a top 3 performance. It all came down to them clutching up in Search and Destroy and winning their hard points. They need to turn that around now.
I think it's a really interesting kind of case scenario for Toronto Ultra. Like, we heard before all about how they were performing in scrims. Like, when they were on that hard point kind of loss, do you remember they just kept losing hard points over and over again? We would go into the next stage or the next week, and we'd be hearing down the grapevine, Ultra have been winning hard points. Eventually, things looked like they started to kind of tick. They were figuring things out, and at the major, that showed through. How they've backslid in the last 3 weeks doesn't make a ton of sense to me, and it's worrying that this team has somehow found that form after all the hard work, after all the controversy and everything they went through. People were demanding a roster change, people thought it would be good. Ultra got better and then somehow have lost that and have suddenly backslid. They don't want to go into this major in the loser side of it. They don't want to be in a position where the bubble could matter. Pressure will be starting to mount for a team who were riding high 3 weeks ago.
They were feeling themselves all the way to a different level. They even come in here and get their very first win of stage 4. Even though it was a reverse sweep, you still get the W. They have a tough matchup versus London, who are looking in prime form, lose every single respawn there, and then the series versus Atlanta FaZe. They haven't been able to beat Atlanta FaZe in quite some time in this game. They just have to try to find some form, and I think for me, it all comes down to the SMGs. Insight and Cammy, we know what we're gonna get out of them, but so far throughout this stage, you got CleanX, who goes from stage 3 at 0.94. Keep in mind, he has a lot of engagement, so it's kind of hard for him to go over 1.0. But now throughout stage 4, he's a 0.76. And the same thing for Bance, goes from a 0.93 to a 0.84. Both of the ARs on this team are still sitting over 1.0 KDs. But when I think about this team, it's all about the SMGs. You need to have better performances out of CleanX and Bance.
Yeah, and I think also for Ultra, like if we're talking about their schedule, realistically, we didn't expect them to lose to London, but London look a lot better. And obviously, if we're going to be perfectly honest, we do expect Ultra to get their teeth kicked in by Atlanta FaZe over and over again. They're just a team they cannot beat. On the other side of Boston Breach, it's kind of redemption for Toronto Ultra if they can do something against Breach. On the other side of it, if Boston Breach win this, they're definitely one of the hot favorites going into this next one. But that stat does matter there. 5-game losing streak on Gavudu.
Yeah, 5-game losing streak for Gavudu, but if you're Boston Breach, the main focus has to be just your hold percentage. They are 2nd in rotation, 4th in hold percentage, but 10th on break. So they're going up against Toronto Ultra roster who are #1 in rotation win percentage, but last on holds. And you can see early on for Boston Breach, they find a lot of success at this P1, outscoring their opponents 5-15. They get a clean 4 down, and they're just going to lead now, Bryce.
They're going to try and hold this one as well, but Cammy does make that first kill. They've broken back into the TJ, hiding in the cupboard, looking to find out, but eventually Nero comes through. There are more Ultra players on the stairs, potentially looking for this, or at least the contest, and CleanX gets nothing. So for Ultra, it all has to be this rotation, but they are going to be feeling the squeeze as Vivid on a 4 streak pushes towards green.
Yeah, final 5 seconds at this P1 hardpoint. Toronto Ultra fully set up, though, for P2. To stop the bleeding and eventually get themselves back into this game. You see Boston, they are swanning over towards that backside green. Huge gunfights going on. Methodz is able to win that one onto Insight. So it's going to be an all-out battle in towards the ship. CleanX does take down Nero, but for now, Toronto are holding.
You can see there's one player who may have slipped the net towards both, but eventually getting taken down, and the ARs of Ultra are going to work. They are trying to keep them as far away as possible. Even Bance with it out, which is kind of what you expect, especially rotating onto this hill. He's been doing a little bit better when he does run this on this map. But right now, Ultra are getting the points, but there is a squeeze coming in from Boston Breach.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me now is that Boston are still in control of the spawns for P3, but with Toronto finding those 3 kills, it's time to put the pedal to the metal. Over the rotation, it's going to be Bance, a huge one-on-one versus Nero, to at least put himself in a position to give his teammates an easier job off this rotation. Final 10 are going to go towards Toronto. They're going to be able to take this lead, but Boston Breach, with the back spawns, are going to be fairly in a great position to break this, but that's a 2-piece in the feed. Toronto Ultra holding from the front.
Yeah, Bance going to take it out there with a wall bang, and he was on a 5 streak as well, something they would have wanted to keep alive, but Boston Breach just fighting from the better side. There's no real support up the top of P1, which is probably what they're waiting for here. Ultra fighting to stay alive, and eventually Bance gets 2 more. I said he'd been playing a little bit better with it when he can actually run that auto on this map, and it's working out for him, Stud.
Yes, definitely is, man. When you have 4 autos on the map, especially on a map like Gavudu with its long-range gunfights, you can definitely see an improvement in your SMGs once they pick up that weapon. But the contest is going to be here from Vivid. And the challenge as well takes down Cammy. Great shots onto Insight. Never able to find that kill, though. But Boston finally able to get some time off of this P3. 20 seconds left. Now going into P4. This is the struggle for Toronto. They're getting outscored by 20 points on this. They only win rotation 28% of the time. But this time around, they're going to be here first.
They are going to be here, but keep an eye. Vivid is all the way deep beach. The lone player from Boston Breach, and he's been spotted by Inside, and he's not going to win. Inside goes for a long-range pistol to finish it off. Has to get that one nailed in. And Ultra are ready. They're set up on P3, and the defenses go up.
And now this is where Breach, they do have a lot of map control with Nero and Vivid finding that 2, because you see 2 players from Ultra swarming all the way across the map. 10% break percentage, and they're going to execute beautifully on that P4 and flip those spawns. So they're going to be able to take this lead right on back. But now if you're Ultra, you can basically try to trap him in towards the backside and get it towards that P5. You just don't want to give up all this time to Boston so they can grow this lead even more.
Trying to get a couple of kills here. Ultra are moving to at least take this away from him. Cammy getting a nade kill. And they will fight this one for a little bit of scrap time because they have map control. Here come Boston, just going to try and break through as well, but that's 1 kill for CleanX, not able to clean up onto the second, and he even goes for the pistol there at the end. I'm sure he had bullets left in that auto. Not going to try for it as well because the pistol's good enough. Down he goes, and the rotation will come in. Ultra have map control at the moment.
Ultra fully set up for Boston to break out of back P4. Don't have a player initially on that time, but CleanX after that 2-piece, he's just going to back on up, soak it up for his team. Having himself one hell of a game so far. Remember what I said, 0.74 before this series even started. Doing a little better with that AR in hand as Toronto find every single kill in the feed. And that might not work out for them because you see the spawns for Boston, they're just going to flip.
They have, they're too far away, and now Ultra, who did all the work last time, got all the kills, have to try and break back into the site they were holding. Done a great job of it already, though. Methodz trying to fly out here, but it's just not working. Ultra's guns are up, and it looks like they could retake the lead, but TJ comes swinging in. And at the moment, a little bit contested with players around green.
There's 20 seconds left on this P5. But you see the focus for both of these squads. We have to get control of P1. They send 2 players for both squads, but Insight able to get the first. Now it's Vivid versus Insight. Off this rotation, if he can find this kill, that could be massive, but Insight with the kill is now gonna allow Toronto Ultra to win this rotation. They just have to hold this push in his 3v4 situation while their teammate is still getting that remaining junk time. But Toronto, #1 team in rotation win percentage on this map, and they're showing us why.
They certainly are. The pressure goes to Boston Breach. Let's find out how they are feeling with a listen-in.
I need time. Yeah, inside. Inside out of 5. Inside out of 5. I'm covering this. Inside out of 5. Get a push closer. Yep, I stunned it. I'm gonna spawn combat and lower weak once we guard. And what's first cut on me? Okay, first cut, yep. Nice, 3. Yo, we can hill, it's inside. He's close to shoot. I don't see him, let's down quick. Yep, I'm going. There's side, one shot, inner, one shot, outer. Inner, nice job. Listen, Bance first guy. Okay, I'm backing up. I'm already built. Look for me, I'm going on RXs as well. Look for me, Bance. There's like P4. Yo, 3 cliff, they're all weak. 2 of them are weak. I'm top right now. There's no one low cliff on me. Okay. I'm top right now. There's 2 low cliff. I'm coming during. Yeah, inside. Mid-take maybe. He's on point. One shot. Yeah, I'm gonna 5, I think. That's lift. I'm wrapping ring right now. Oh my.
Boston Breach trying to break down the Ultra, and they've done so far with this rotation. It's now Ultra who have to break in from Cliff. So let's find out how they're going to do it with a listen-in.
Yeah, okay. In top boat. He's pushed that low. Two top boat, bro. 2 top boat. Nice, 2 top boat. Wait, I don't see him on time. Might be in the tank. I killed one top boat. Go on. Nice. Let's get boats, Simp. Top boat. Weak top boat with nade. Okay, he's going left. Dead. Nice, you shot it. Get that time. Okay. Then nade me down. I can challenge. Wanna spawn? Close oil already, bro. Already close oil's in, man. Okay, bro, he's behind me. S2. Nice. I'm taking corner. Weak on ult. Weak hold. He's going top of the tank to Jimmy. I'm in the corner now. I'm in the tank now. Okay. He's on ult. Could be ring. Could we can get up here. Front green. No, already top ring Nero. Already absolutely in ring, bro. TJ's slow now. I'll see you. Make time. Already used my name. I don't see top ring absolute. Look for the guy on ult, okay? He's just absolute. He's absolute that guy, man. Nice, good shot. No worries, go. One's on time. One's on ult. I'm nading it. Yeah. Nade time and let's play him quick. Play him quick. Yeah. We'll play spawners. I'm playing spawners. In the rock. Nero spawn dead. He was. I naded. Wait, one's front green. Do it. And Zin's gonna be in the back. Front green. Absolutely. I'm hitting a pinch. I'll see you in the back. I got time. Okay, yeah. Slay, Jimmy. Nice, the nade. On the right. He's one red tower, Nero. Nero's red tower as well. Nice. We'll get red tower.
And Toronto Ultra's comms right there. Same exact thing every single time we go into a listening with them. Calm, cool, and collected until they had to turn up. When they found those 3 kills, they were able to execute that break on towards P3 and then eventually take this lead. Now you see what that does for map control. You have full control set up for that P4, which has been the struggle for Toronto Ultra all season long.
And now it's again the rotation for Ultra. Can they hold? The pressure's already here. Vivid's in a good position, looking for Insight straight away, but Insight shuts him down. Having a good game, but Methodz does find one towards Cliff. It's made Ultra compress into this puck around the site. They haven't got as much breathing room as they would want. The trades will matter. Bance gets a first on the Nero. Methodz gets one back. Bance gets a second. Just holding there at the top, eventually going to go down. But Ultra do not have the numbers. They are coming off that respawn. They cannot let a player get back towards Dark. Methodz on a full streak. He goes down to CleanX, and somehow Boston Breach have broken in.
This is massive from Boston Breach because if they can trap Toronto in towards the back and get this time, that's exactly how you want to execute this play. But CleanX finds 3 in the feed. Last player on the point is going to be TJ. He gets taken care of. So the final 20 should go in favor of Ultra. But Boston, they're still going to put pressure on this. They know that they're continuously spawning in towards the back. Even though they're not getting time, they're maintaining that map control to set up properly for that P5.
And it's Methodz doing the work. We haven't seen Methodz on the Voodoo hardpoint do quite this well in a little while, but he's back on 4!
Okay!
Shutting him down. That's a 5 streak from him, and Ultra are trapped with nowhere left to go. The spawn is in for Boston. They are in the lead, and they are gunning Ultra off this map.
Such a close back and forth game. Boston fully set up for this P5. You see the routes coming in from Ultra. You have Bance and you have Insight all the way through P1. They're able to find that initial kill, so now the pinch is going to be here. But Nero, the player that has been stepping up for Boston Breach ever since this roster change, finds all 4 kills in the feed. Spawns do flip, but Boston in full control.
They are, and Ultra going to have to rely on their nades and their teamwork. CleanX finds 2 as well, but Boston have 3 in and around here. CleanX finds 1 player off the point. That's going to be huge. They've got to be careful here because Boston will be looking to go towards P1, but they're not going to give it up quite yet. Inside gets the final kill. No one from Ultra has gone to ring. Boston are there first.
Boston are here. They're properly set up. They know that all of Ultra have to force their way in to the backside of P3, but Methodz and Nero combined for 2. 2 players up closest to the point. CleanX and Bance, but CleanX, he does at least find 2 to stall his team, to allow them to eventually get back into this play, but the cutoff man in TJ finds both players all spawn, and CleanX is trying to do everything he can to just stay alive, man. He's going off. Oh no!
Oh my goodness, 2 team kills for Toronto Ultra after CleanX pulled out the god gun. Insight finds 2 as well, but they are fighting from the back foot. They cannot afford to slip now. Ultra have control, but Boston are here. 6 seconds is the difference. In goes the first player. Insight doesn't get him. Looks for the second. Doesn't work. And CleanX is still staying alive, but he's going to go down as well. Last player is Bance, but there's too many against him. He gets gunned. It's game over. It's Boston Breach to take the first half point.
What a first hard point from both of these teams. I thought Ultra, they did a great job of just winning a majority of their rotations, especially towards that P4. We said it before the map started, 28% win rate towards that P4, which has been a struggle for them all year long. They found some success there, but I think the turning point for me, Bryce, had to be that P5. When Ultra is so far pushed out towards ship, they allow Boston, even after getting all 4 kills in the feed, to eventually flip those spawns towards Red Tower and execute the break on P5. Difference of this game was about 39 points. If Ultra are able to set up properly for that time on P5, they potentially walk away with this one. But Boston Breach, they clutch up, they show up at P1, they struggle with their breaks on this map, but they do it at the right time to close out this game number 1. Now go up 1-0 in the series.
Yeah, I gotta say, well played to Boston Breach for that one, and I think CleanX obviously had a really good late game. Insight was the man for Ultra pretty much the entire way through. Cammy having a little bit of an off game that could have made the difference, and I don't want to focus too much on that last P1, because while we saw CleanX do fantastic work, Ultra somehow managed to get 2 team kills, and that's not even saying, hey, they lost the game there. They were already behind. They were already in a bad position. They couldn't win it on P1. They would have had to rely on a complete flip as well, so Ultra were already partially into the bin. But it's just not something that you're going to be happy about, that kind of going against you, especially considering CleanX was doing so well to hold that by himself.
Yeah, CleanX is doing everything he can, especially with that last rotation towards P1. He found an opening 2-piece, and then even with his teammates getting 2-piece off the middle of the map, he finds another 2 to stall more time for his teammates to get into the play. But like you said, the team kills are not going to help in that situation. Such crucial moments in that final hard point. When you allow those team kills to happen, you basically give Boston Breach the man advantage. It's been a struggle for them. A 5-game losing streak on this map, number 1, but finally they end that losing streak. They go up 1-0 in this series, and like the Des touched on it, if they lose both Kavutsus, they're probably going to get rid of it, but seeing some success earlier on, glad to see them put that now into their map pool.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they needed, but I gotta say this, I haven't been a fan of Boston Breach on Gavudu Hardpoint in quite a while, and I think that was probably because of Methodz, right? Like, if I don't want to single out the player, but Methodz, when he was great at it, they were a devastating force on that map. He kind of fell off a little bit. He wasn't able to win the gunfights. It put his teammates in a bad position. This new roster, this new honeymoon phase with Vivid, whatever you want to call it, he's found his fire. He put up great numbers that map, especially what you expect him to do. Hold the angle, hold the power position, let his teammates do the other work. And when that worked out for him, you could even see like Cammy wasn't really being able to get any gunfights going for him. And it's only things like Insight that kept Ultra in that game for as long as they did. CleanX pulling up 2 pieces where he shouldn't do. Bance, even in the comms, calling out the plays. Like, there was a lot going well for Ultra, but it just was never quite enough.
Yeah, I think honestly, all it came down to is that they allowed Nero to get hot. At one point in the game, he was like 9-17, but I'm pretty sure he ends the game positive. And that was a play that I really wanted to focus on. When Boston made this roster change, with Capsule on the team, Nero was around like a 0.9, probably a clean 1.0. But now that you had a player like Vivid, it does wonders for a player like Nero. Now that you have an aggressive SMG right next to you, he's been putting up insane numbers so far throughout this stage. Throughout stage 3, the guy was sitting at like a 0.93. But so far in stage 4, a lot more comfortable with this team. A 1.1 really was a turning point for him to turn up in that map number 1 for Boston eventually close that one out.
Well, here's the kind of the rub moving forward. We said at Boston Breach, we kind of expect them to take that at some point. Even with the negative stats, we said, hey, this is where it is for Boston Breach. They'll probably end up taking this hard point. Going into the Search and Destroy, though, is the more interesting thing for me. Desert Siege is a weird map for Toronto Ultra because they either look dominant on it, coming through players like Insight, or they just kind of play a little bit scared. And the game that kind of comes to memory for me is that last game they played on LAN versus Atlanta FaZe. They played a little bit timid, a little bit held back, and they lost it. And obviously, they can't afford to do that today. I do feel like a lot of Ultra strategies when it comes to Desert Siege relies on how they are feeling. Like if Insight is getting pushed away when he likes watching those long sight lines, they kind of almost lose control of a good portion of that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, especially like you talk about in the series versus Atlanta FaZe. They just didn't play with any confidence. They allowed Atlanta FaZe just run all over the map. It's like they started off hot and then just slowly but surely started to calm down in the game and just let Atlanta FaZe run away with it. You see the stats from TJ. Also, another guy who's been really comfortable with this roster change. And that map number 1 puts up a 1.17. And you have Insight, 1.48. The guy was going off on that map number 1. He slid a little bit more out of Cammy to at least try to get that win, but now you have to bounce back in the Search and Destroy versus a Boston Breach team who, with this roster change, have been struggling in this mode.
Well, already starting off for it, and Bance tries to get that first kill and just cannot catch Nero and will be taken down by Vivid for the first blood. And that's going to be so frustrating already. CleanX looking for a trade here. Insight managed to get one back for a 3 versus 3, and TJ trying to thread the needle onto Insight, but hasn't found it.
So now into 3v3. Vivid still puts himself in a great position in towards top palace, but it's looking like Toronto Ultra, their game plan is to slowly attack towards A. Methodz on this map, you see it 1.27 on Desert Sea Search and Destroy. A very impactful player, but bomb is going to get planted for 3v3 situation. 40 seconds to work with his Boston.
Well, CleanX is going to see a player there and somehow just snaps onto Vivid. Now down to Methodz. A 1 versus 3. The nade gets the first one done. Where are the rest of these players? A little bit of time to work to, but not a lot. He knows where Inside is going to be. He's looking for this pick. He knows where he's coming, but he's been stunned and taken down. Ultra didn't give him an inch.
Yeah, right there. Even after Ultra getting first blooded, they slowed the game down. Inside eventually equals up the numbers at a 3v3. And it's got a lot of information towards that train side that no one is defending A. We plant this bomb. You back up towards your spawn. They take down the one player, put it in the 3v2. And at that point, just all about the communication. Insight spot Methodz, you hit him with the stun, and then you have CleanX on the flank through bottom planless to eventually close out that round. Ultra 1-0.
Well, a little bit of confidence boost after the way they lost that hard point, but see what they can do. And TJ trying to catch the player crossing. That'll be Insight. Very familiar position, but he already takes down Vivid. And TJ's going to try and pick him up, but the nade's already hitting him as well. Ultra look like they're hitting the hard counter here, Stud.
Yeah, Ultra right now with that first blood, they know the play that Boston are trying to set up. Insight also with some great shots to at least back down CJ for the time being. But right now, Ultra have a lot of map control. If you're Boston Breach, you're just playing for some information, potentially playing for a pick, but Bance, it's your time to strike, makes it a 4v2.
And he's waiting. TJ's going back out towards the side. Methodz going to try and make his own play towards A, and he catches Cammy and guns him. He just evaporated.
Yeah. But now if you're TJ, just want to take your time and play for some information. Takes down that player into Bance, but the trade is going to be there from Insight. Now Methodz left in the 1v2. So far, 1v3 for Methodz and a 1v2. This is Mr. Clutch for this Boston squad.
Can he find him, though? He knows where Insight is. He's going straight for it. He wants to get this player down, and Insight's going to see him and just gets to the gunny faster. And that's Ultra 2-0 up. Was looking a little bit nervous for them there as they got it back to a 2 versus 2, but I will say Insight was looking very confident. The amount of times he reached out TJ with the sniper, he's certainly not playing scared.
Yeah, that's the thing for Boston Breach is that they definitely did their homework on how Toronto set up on their defensive end. They know that Insight likes to play outside towards deep trenches, and somehow, some way, he still finds 3 kills on the round to secure it for Ultra. So for Boston, at least in your attack, you don't want to give up that first blood. If you're Vivid, you want to kind of slow down in these situations, because even on Florida, he was in the majority of these rounds getting first blooded or first blood.
Well, they've pretty much picked them apart there, and Boston Breach now in a great scenario. CleanX going to find one, going to find the second though, brings it back to a 2 versus 2, but he's going to go down. Bance gets him back into a 1 versus 1. Oh my goodness, all the kills in the kill feed. And Bance going for a plant here on the outside of Bomb. The 1v1 stud.
1v1, 40 seconds to work with. Nero, don't think he was able to spot Bance. And Bance puts himself in a great position, but he's just gonna hop this bomb. Bance has to check it. Bance with the positioning, able to clutch up the 1v1 versus Nero. That was a 4v2. Yeah. Great round from CleanX, especially to just aggressively push through bottom palace, even up the numbers. And then even when he dropped, Bance was immediately there for the trade. Rotates that bomb all the way towards B, gets it down, puts himself in a great position. And right there, Nero commits towards the bomb. But like I said, Bance with his positioning towards that trenches has the line of sight to close out the round. 3 clean rounds so far from Ultra.
Yeah, kind of crazy 2v4, and then technically the 1v2 for Bance. And Nero, I thought he might have seen him when he went all the way out towards trench, but just didn't obviously see the pixels that gave him the information. And here we go, TJ, go for that chow again, but it's going to be CleanX, and this time to push up. Whoever it is, goes for the pre-fire, doesn't get it, but Cammy gets another kill on the TJ. And now it's Boston Breach with a 2 versus, it's a 1 versus 4. And it's done.
This
wow, that was quick.
This is looking way too clean from Ultra. They are super aggressive right there to Train's side. They get the information of they're not really attacking towards this B bomb. So we're going to allow CleanX to be push up on that Train side, get that first blood, almost find the second. But then it allows Cammy as well to find that second kill, put it in a 4v2, 4 up, 4 down. Clean round from Ultra, up 4-0.
Well, what a way to start the S&D after the hard point, but can they continue? You think Boston should be able to fire back just a little bit, maybe take it and slow it down and figure out exactly what Ultra are doing. It's not that they are unaware. This team has been the same all year long. Insight, looking for the tiniest of gaps, and he just sees it there as well. TJ gets the camera flash, but nobody down.
Now the bomb is getting planted into 4v4. CleanX at least trying to get away with his life, but TJ there for the immediate trade. Puts Boston in the man advantage. For Toronto, you have a couple tacticals to work with, but with Methodz finding that kill, it's a 4v2. Bance with the trade, all left up to Insight now in a 1v2.
Let's see if he can find it. Theoretical 1v3 for Insight. We've seen it a million times, but he's been stunned, and that means he probably can't even get to this in time. He's just going to have to swing on it. He finds the fire, and he gets away! Somehow Insight's still alive, and he's running for his life. Methodz going to go straight for the defuse, though. And I wonder if Insight's going to call this. He comes straight back through as well. Seconds to go, and he gets it! Insight for another 1v3, and Methodz just disappeared, head on desk. And they cannot believe it. Clutch after clutch for Ultra. What a ridiculous S&D.
And we were talking about Methodz, 1.27 on Desert Seas, but don't forget, we have one of the best S&D players in the game and Insight on the map. He's a 1.23, Mr. Clutch, Mr. Ice in his veins. Gets it done right there to keep Toronto Ultra flawless in this search and destroy. You see the frustration on Boss's face. They're allowing a lot of clutches to happen. This is not good. Ultra starting to run away with this one.
Well, CleanX with the first blood, and this could be over right now. What do Boston Breach do from here? Cammy's been found up top. Vivid managed to get it back to a 3 versus 3.
3v3.
Brings it back. 2 versus 2.
2v2 now.
Oh my goodness, not
finds
again.
Another one. Oh my.
Down they go like dominoes. Ultra speed run the S&D. Theoretically, that was a 2v3 clutch as well, and Ultra numbers do not matter to them on this map. First bloods do not matter to them on this map. They've just run over Boston.
That was just way too clean from Ultra. 6-0. I'm pretty sure Nero goes 0-6 as well. And it was just all about the aggression. CleanX did not slow down one round. He was always attacking on their attacking rounds in towards bottom palace, and even being super aggressive on their defensive round through trains. Always find an opening pick with that first blood. You see 2 first bloods to his name. Insight though, Mr. Clutch holds down that B site to the T, and then when he has to clutch up on the attacking round to hold down that bomb site for his squad, he's going to be able to get it done. What a performance out of both of those two players from Ultra to get the clean 6-0 to tie this series up at 1. And now you got a Gabutu control where Boston Breach, this has not been their map all season.
Well, I don't even really know how to break down that S&D.
Smoke show.
Insane. Yeah, just kind of ridiculous in the end from Ultra. The worst part about that is, right, the worst part about that S&D for me is that Boston had the advantage over and over and over again, and somehow they overcome it. Obviously, Insight is, I think statistically, last time I checked, he was behind another player, but he basically just has about as many clutches as you can here that he can win several S&Ds by himself. Obviously, we had CleanX doing well, the teamwork going from all these teams, but that S&D was so fast. We are going to go to the control, and we'll find out what happens in the rest of this series. Do not go anywhere. Toronto Ultra versus Boston Breach coming up right after this.
Call of Duty League is brought to you by Mountain Dew and Zenny. Armor your eyes with Blocks gaming glasses starting at $24 by visiting zenny.com/CDL. Upgrade your game with a Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CDL, and this is our Scuff play of the game. It's Insight and the Clutch, and Stud, I'm going to need you to bring me through this from the point of view of a player.
Yeah, so right there, it's a 1v3. Finds that first kill, and right here, you know, in a 2v1 situation, someone has to commit towards bombs. So Insight does a great job of at least taking that player down, and then it all comes down to a 1v1. And right here, Insight just knows the personnel that he is playing against. You know that Methodz likes to dedicate himself to just instantly hopping this bomb, reads the play beautifully, and clutches up the round for his team. If you're Ultra looking side to side, you're like, we knew you had that Insight. Easy clutch for the young man.
Here's the kind of crazy thing from it, like, for Methodz didn't actually play that wrong from what I can tell. Like, there was no other real option for him. He knew Insight wasn't going to instant recheck. The timing was against him. Obviously, if he had made the kill on Insight, it's a difference, but the angle was just a little bit too much. But Insight just hit the wrap and hit him about Mack 10.
Yeah, because right there, Methodz, he's probably thinking like Insight, he has a sniper pistol, he's probably going to overextend, try to challenge this through that train side. But when he picks up that auto, Insight just completely changes his game plan, attacks it aggressively, and then like you said, only 15 seconds remaining on that game clock. Methodz had to either look for the kill or play for that defuse. Unfortunately, he was not able to get that defuse. And you can see so far in this series, Insight 1.8. This guy is on a terror so far.
Yeah, he has been picking it up all the time and obviously losing that hard point, but continued it straight in to the S&D. Can he do it into the control, though? We will find out straight off the rip. You can see the split coming through already. Players heading towards Clifford straight away.
Yeah, one player that I really want to touch on is Nero, because on Gabutu control, he's currently at a 0.82 KD. But so far throughout Stage 4, even though they've been playing a majority on Tuscan, he's at a 1.4 in this mode. The only thing is, Boston Breach on Gabutu have been struggling. 3 and 10 overall. They are 10th in offensive win rate at 11%, and then last in defensive win rate at 66%. A struggle for them. They need to try to turn it around here.
You can already see Ultra setting up for the kills here. Just slowly but surely trying to get that first tick in towards A. Cammy set up on Propane. Looking for Nero, who he knows coming, and Nero beats him to the gunfight. It opens up a gap, and he bangs Bance out of the boat. Unbelievable, that first tick has not come through. Nero is tearing his way through Ultra. He's inside, and he tries to gun him, but not quite.
At least the confidence is there. Nero finds that 3-piece, so at least relieves some pressure on towards A. And look at the map control right now that Boston Breach have. There's only one player from Toronto Ultra pushed up towards this ship side. There's 30 seconds left, and they still don't even have one segment complete.
And they're trying just to stop this clock here, but they're looking for the first wave of kills. You can see TJ and Vivid all getting him. That means Insight's in a bad position. This is horrible for Ultra. No ticks down at this point. And TJ goes up top. Easiest timing of his life. It's looking done and dusted.
5 seconds left. Boston with map control. Toronto Ultra all trapped in their spawn. Closest player to the point is Cammy. But that is what you call a flawless defensive round from Boston Beach. They put themselves in control of this control to start us off this game. If they just go out and complete that A point, they're going to be up 3 ticks. They don't even have to worry about B, because just in case they get to that round number 5, they basically already solidified that defensive round.
Yeah, that is the worst case scenario in every single way of writing it. Like, there's no redemption for that round, unfortunately. They had a pretty good time, but as soon as they got put into the blender, there was no way back out for them. It wasn't even the full blender, it was a round boat. Normally, you'd expect that to happen if they get trapped into their spawn. It's an interesting jump. I haven't done that myself before, but Nero on top of the boat now, looking for these first entry kills.
And if you're Toronto, you need to have the same exact round that Boston Breach had. You have to respond with a great defensive hold, and them winning their initial gunfights off the rip. That's going to be a clean 4 down. Now Boston Breach all spawning in the back of their base. This is going to allow Bance to start free roaming through the back of this P4. So he finds his first kill on the Methodz, should be able to find this second, but TJ is able to get the trade. 50 seconds and counting, and Boston Breach are finally able to touch that 8 point.
Well, they've got taken off of it again. Insight staying alive and just takes Methodz down. It's Insight again. He's heading threes on a 4 streak as well. Got to get that reload in. Bance cutting them down off the respawn. Nero finds one, and he finds a second. He's opening the door for his teammates, and Ultra want to slam it shut. They do not want to give a tick away and bring this back to an even game.
They're doing a great job of doing so. 30 seconds left. They're trading the kills effectively towards the middle of the map. Now it's all about locating this player in TJ, but Insight not missing any shots. Able to find that kill. They retain map control, and what's looking like a great defensive hold from Boston is going to be an instant response from Ultra and Insight. Remember, he's a 1.8 before this map even started. He's just boosting stats at this point.
How is he not winning a gunfight? 4 seconds left. Boston in spawn. Maybe a Freudian slip there, but I tell you something. 2 rounds of control have passed, and there's not a tick in sight.
I don't think that's ever happened, especially on a Ubuntu. Like, we're talking about a team who is 10th overall on offensive win. That's going to be Boston. But then for Toronto, overall for them, they are 4th on their attacking rounds, and they could not find any success. So now at this point, it all comes down to who's going to be able to complete this A segment, because neither one of these squads have a segment completed. And I think right now, if you're Toronto Ultra, you're sitting a little bit more comfortable because you're outslaying as well.
Well, can anybody break this deadlock? Can anybody find the edge they need? Ultra and Boston square up again. This time Ultra on the attack. Cammy's gone all the way through. He's looking through C1 for somebody. And at the moment, his teammates haven't made any kills. TJ does make a team kill, gives him a little bit of opportunity, but Cammy might get a bit of bad timing. He doesn't eventually find it versus Nero. Looking for the player inside. He finds Methodz, but they're both weak, and the wallbangers are coming through. They're just throwing everything at each other in green. Nothing's hitting, but Ultra are in the boat.
Yeah, but with Cammy putting himself in that position towards green, now this frees up this bolt positioning for his team to eventually work towards their first progression at A. But as long as Boston keep killing in trades, they should be okay. But Cammy winning that one is now the first tick of progression finally is going to come in for Toronto Ultra. Boston not going to give this one up easy, as they still have a lot of bodies on this side of the map. 3 kills in their favor. Last player on point is going to be Cammy. The pinch is here, and that's a clean 4 dead from Boston, now with 45 seconds left.
And again, at least 1 tick has come in for Ultra. I didn't think we'd be counting it in that sort of low numbers, but you can see they're trying to get in for this second here. Bance is on. There has come a chow already through, and he is going to win the gunfight. But more players from Boston stream into this point. They're refusing to let this go in any single part, but Bance stays alive. Nero towards the bottom. And they are fighting tooth and nail just to get ticks on the way.
And I think right here in this situation, Toronto Ultra have a lot of map control. The second tick is going to come in for Boston Breach. This is your last attempt to try to break it, or they're just going to set up around it. Toronto close out this A segment. They're able to find 2 kills as well. And look at number 5 on your mini-map. Bance is already on that B point. He's allowing his teammates to get that close spawn towards top ring. And instead of hopping that point, he's playing for that map control to cut off man.
He's going to see them. He's going to see them. He's waiting. He's going to take down Nero. He's looking for it back. Cammy gets one as well. It's huge, but they got to win the gunfight. Inside with a nade. Does take down TJ. And Ultra are waiting for this, but the flank from Methodz, it could be everything. He finds the first, he looks for the second, but that rock is just not giving it to him.
Methodz has control of top ring, but Inside doing a great job just finessing his life around this B point. You get on it before you allow them to complete that first tick of progression at B. But now 9 to 9 in lives remaining, a minute to work with. If you're Ultra, they eliminate Bance out of their spawn. First job done. Now if you're Boston Breach, you're fully set up on the map, all the way pushed out towards B side. You have somewhat of ship control. It's going to be difficult for Toronto to try to get out.
So where do Ultra hit this? They're looking around boat to begin with. That's where the first feelers have gone through. CleanX has been found. TJ flying around the boat, but Bance has already got one. Inside gets a second. Down on 7v7, and that's a third coming through. Ultra streaming up towards the map, but they have to make another wave of kills.
Oh, and Methodz drops as well at top ring. He was going to be the safety net for Boston Breach, as Toronto Ultra are going to set up this pinch to the backside. Nero is able to spot him, but Insight 21 and 8. Not slowing down. No more respawns for Boston. No more respawns for Ultra. Cammy finds the first, and eventually they get on the point.
They're looking for it. Methodz, though, guns him straight back off of it. Bance actually going to go for the chow. Says, hey, Methodz, I've got you at 3 versus 2. It's a big gunfight. Nero wins it. And they're not close enough. Boston Breach hold on to it. And the truth is, it doesn't matter by how big of a distance you win. The numbers are this. They are 2-1 in the lead. They have an attack, and Ultra only have 3 ticks. They just need to get A to take it to kills.
Yeah, if I am Boston, I'm fully committing towards a B push, because you know how impactful that one segment can be if you can complete that B segment and then eventually close out that A capture. Because right now, Toronto, they find themselves up by 3. And they're also outslaying. So as long as they hold strong, exactly the same way that they did in their very first defensive round, they should be okay. But a lot of trades going down in the middle of the map. Boston already have control of top green, and they're already on A.
Actually, I really love this from Boston. They've just pushed out completely and tried to get as much map control as possible. Lost a couple of gunfights. They're going to consolidate by getting that first tick on towards A and holding down both. The reinforcements will stream over cliff as fast as they possibly can. Inside, going to come through and try and do something against Methodz. Finds one, but not the second.
So now you see the progression for Boston starting to go up pretty quick as 2 players are going to be on the point. Bance unfortunately cannot find the 2-piece. So the second tick is in, but none other than CleanX to break their setup. Find every single kill. Last farthest player pushed up is going to be TJ. He's trying to be kind of a nuisance towards the mid tank. He's going to be the opening player. Methodz does find one, but TJ on the pinch. He's able to allow his teammates to eventually get back on this A point. Vivid, great shots to find that 2-piece, and they should be able to close out this A second.
Yeah. They're not gonna go back for that one, Ultra. It's too close towards ending. There is too much at stake. And they're already losing kills all over this map. Vivid screams! And Bance has just disappeared! Full Thanos off the map!
And Boston, they were able to complete that A point. Now 1 minute and 40 to work with, up by 3 lives. They basically need to start slaying because they're both tied in segments. But it's all about the map control. Vivid going to be the player slowly working his way through the flank. But Bance is at least the player playing for that information. Can't win the gunfight onto CleanX, but this allows his teammates from the front side of ring to now fight for that map control.
That's actually a really big win there for Bance. He does manage to take down Methodz before they can secure anything. Inside looking for the Nero player he knows is there. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the kill either. And Cammy hasn't got the cut. Ultra are back in spawn, and they do not have the kills. It's only going to be CleanX who could do anything here as he tries to flank. As that tick starts to tick in.
Flank gets read by CleanX. As Methodz takes him down, the first tick is about to be done. Bance trying to do everything he can. But unfortunately, he gets taken down by Nero, and great rake from Toronto Ultra. But keep in mind, they only have 6 lives left. You have to try to play perfect. You need to secure this defensive round so you can have defense going into round number 5.
Well, that's what they want. Obviously, if you are the Boston Breach, you want to end this right here and right now, but that's one little bit of damage. Bance is all the way into spawn. He's trying to farm them off for this, not give them an inch. TJ knows where he is, but Bance cannot finish it. And now he'll be hunted.
No more respawns for Ultra. As Vivid takes down inside, they're able to get on this beat point. All of Ultra. It's time to hit your teammates. Trying to get these guys off of this segment. You cannot afford to lose this round. And I'm pretty sure even if Boston do not close out this round, they have been able to outslay in this game. So they secure that defense, and now with that first tick of progression at B, they definitely have it. It's all on Toronto. They find that player on the pinch. Bance goes massive with that 2-piece, and now this might be the opening they were looking for.
Oh, they managed to get it. They managed to get it. Somehow Boston have held Methodz, trying to do something, but he's been taken down as well. Bance has gone all the way through again. And with 13 seconds left to go, it's a 3 versus 3. Defense may be in the pocket for Boston, but the game is still in the air. Vivid looking for CleanX. That's the first win. 1.5 seconds left. Can he even make it? I don't think he can. Boston did enough.
Okay, I was trying to do quick smash right there. I'm pretty sure Toronto find themselves about 78 kills. If you're Boston, if you did a great job of just outslaying in this round, you will be able to secure your defense, and they've done exactly that.
Didn't Boston get an extra tick as well?
Yeah, they also got that tick. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that tick. They didn't even come down to the slaying. Boston have defense. Now they have to hold strong. They're the last team on this map on defensive win rate. Keep that in mind.
Well, let's see. Let's see if they can hold. Already lost the gunfight towards it. TJ just making sure nobody gets through P1 at the moment, and that may be timing, but yes, he finds Cammy. And the kills go down. The last thing Ultra want now is to be thrown into the blender in spawn.
Yeah, Ultra have to try to get out, but so much map control right now for Boston. You have to take down TJ to do a great job of doing that, and Bance also wins his one-on-one towards top boat. Bance also earns himself a glide bomb as well, so that could be so impactful towards the later half of this game. There's only 50 seconds left. Ultra just trying to fight for every inch they can get, but Boston are keeping it right in the kill feed. 3 down. Last player up is going to be Insight, just sneaking his way onto B. Going to stall some time for his team as he try to attack towards A.
It's a clever play from Insight, but he loses the gunfight. If he'd won that, it would have caused Boston to commit more resources to holding it. And Bance sprints down towards Beach. Are they going to find him? I think they are. And down he goes. 28 seconds left, and Boston are putting the seal on this game.
And you have a glide bomb to work with. Your Bance, you have to invest this now just to allow your teammates to get out of their spawn. Finds that opening kill onto Cliffside, but with only 15 seconds left, you have to go. You have to be able to stop this clock.
Oh, they're looking for it. CleanX finds one, and Nero's weak, and he knows he is. CleanX finds the second one. They're waiting for these players up top, but no time remaining. There is no room for error here for Ultra, but they've already lost it. Cammy finds one, and he has to jump in solo. And the gunfight versus TJ, he dips out of it. There is no reinforcements near, no trades. Cammy goes down. Insight last alive. That's a gun, and that may be everything in this one as Boston Breach take the control. The defense, the one tick was the difference in the end start. And now they're 2-1 up.
3 and 10 on this map. Have not found a lot of success for this squad. Last in defensive win percentage. And they come out and they shut out Ultra in 2 defensive rounds, not even allowed them to get 1 segment done. Let me tell you, man, this roster change for Boston Breach, without a doubt, has been the best roster change out of all the teams that we have seen make moves. As they come up, they're winning maps that they usually do not win before. You have Vivid putting up 29 and 25, 18 non-traded kills. The entire team just playing so damn consistent. And Boston Breach, I thought at least the Gavutu hardpoint and the Gavutu control was going to be a struggle for them. But obviously their respawn so far with this team has turned it around completely. Now find themselves up 2-1 in the series in command. Now going into a Berlin hardpoint where with this team, they are 2-0.
Well, it's not looking good for Ultra. Insight has been a fantastic player for them. Everywhere else, it's just not working. And they're going to just be very, very sick. The one tick makes the difference. That one little push, everything they did to hold on that last defensive round, it all means nothing.
And now if you're Ultra, they are going into a Berlin hardpoint where recently they have been having a lot of success. I know Boston are sitting 2-0 with this roster, but in the last 7 times that Ultra have played Berlin hardpoint, they have won 6 of the 7. So that's going to be great for them. They have to have a response here. And if it comes down to it, at least in my mind, Insight is playing out of his mind right now. It has to be on everyone else just stepping up, especially Cammy. Didn't have a great map number 1. Obviously, a team slaughtered them with that map number 2. But even in this map at number 3, you're supposed to be the AR duo with Insight. He's putting up 31 and 19, and you're almost -10. He needs to start to step up in order to force the game 5.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and I don't like singling out players, but I will say maybe the difference for Toronto has been, like, when we went to Major 3, Cammy was having a very good time. Not so much at the moment. Maybe it's just kind of the change of arena. Maybe when he gets back onto a LAN environment, it'll be a different story, but Insight has been stepping it up for Ultra. He just needs his teammates to be up there a little bit with him, and we could have a different series. Boston Breach, though, only 1 map away from putting Ultra down and having an incredible record in the face of everybody saying this is the most difficult schedule you can have in a split.
Yeah, that's the thing that stands out for me is that Boston, as soon as they make this roster change, you're probably thinking, wow, they have such a tough schedule. You have to beat the likes of OpTic Texas. You have to beat Seattle. You also have to run through Ultra. And they have so far taken the task at hand and gotten it done. A 3-2 victory over OpTic Texas in a reverse sweep fashion. They lose to that LA Thieves roster. Obviously, LA Thieves have been the opponents that have been able to take down this Boston Breach roster even in 20 minutes. But then the series versus Seattle was such a big one. They closed that one out in 4, and the same with LAG, out in 4. It's just all about their respawn game modes. Like I said, they're undefeated on Bow Cage Hardpoint, sitting at 3-0. Undefeated on Berlin Hardpoint, sitting at 2-0. This team is winning their respawns, even though they're not clutching up in their search and destroys. That's the scary thing for me. If this team can find their form in S&D, with the way that they're looking in respawns ever since this change, definitely a top 4 contender in my mind.
Wow, we will see. Obviously, before they can get there. There is one more map potentially to play against Toronto Ultra, but you are right. The story of Boston Breach is a complete reversal. Essentially, last split just not very good.
Not at all.
The Ultra
Not at all.
very, very quickly. In fact, I'll be perfectly honest with the people at home here. A lot of conversations in the green room about Boston, about how bad they could play. We thought they could even go 0-5 this series before we knew the team change was coming in, before we knew what was happening. The way Boston had been playing, it wasn't a pretty story. They have not only completely changed that, but basically are looking to lock up champs and everything else. If they had gone, by the way that we thought we would do, they would be sitting, I think, about 10th or maybe 8th, somewhere around that sort of region between those two teams, but they're nowhere near.
Nowhere near. And I think, like you said, ever since that roster change, for me, it's been a whole identity change for this Boston Breach roster. At least in the beginning, it was all about Methodz. All right, and then you have Capsule and Nero, the young rookies trying to make an impact. But now, ever since adding Vivid, you see them playing a lot more smaller maps, a lot more bow cage, allowing their SMGs to get more aggressive. And then they're also undefeated currently in Tuscan Control. That's where you're allowing your SMGs to really go above and beyond. This team has a new identity so far. It's showing all throughout stage 4. Undefeated in this hard point, they could potentially close this one out here and go up 4-1 in this stage, guarantee themselves winners bracket, and put themselves at 170 points when they thought they probably were going to even make champs in the beginning.
Yeah, kind of insane, and that's one of the big stories. The pressure was on, and
it was.
We've spoken about this a lot, right? We've spoken about the bubble. We've spoken about what it means for these players. Champs for any of these players, including yourself, Jay, you've been there a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like, it means so much more just being there, and with the current format, the potential of not making it after playing all year and all the majors, it means more to these players than you can probably know unless you're in that very scenario, because champs is just different, baby.
Champs is literally different. Like the Des always talks about, Nameless always says it. You can have the worst year possible, but if you can make it to that champs tournament and make yourself a run, it can all be worth it in the end. And that's what every single player on every single team, probably besides Paris Legion, are trying to fight for, to try to put themselves in the history books, because you know there's nothing like winning champs. Unfortunately for me, I got second. Runner-ups don't really get remembered.
Well, speaking of pressure, Ultra will be feeling it. They have not had a good split so far. Their other opponent will be Texas. They really don't want to lose to Boston. Put themselves in a really horrible position of having to do some serious work at the major. Boston Breach, on the other hand, they'll be looking to lock this one down. And I'll tell you something, Methodz top of the KD for this series. Something we haven't seen in a little while.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in quite some time, but look at the opposite side. Inside at a 1.74, and Cammy, his AR duo at a 0.59. Cammy needs to step up. You cannot put a performance like this going into a major, because I'm pretty sure their next series is none other than Atlanta FaZe to end this. I mean, OpTic Texas to end this one out. Not going to be an easy task to get done, but you see Toronto Ultra 6-1 in the last 7. They have to win this.
They certainly do, and I'm going to say normally you're on the better side.
Okay.
Here, where have Boston gone?
I don't know. Toronto Ultra able to just break right on in, execute the break beautifully, and now Boston Breach, even with the spawns in their favor, and not gaining any time off of this P1. You have CleanX roaming around the map. Bance finds 2. Last player up is going to be Methodz, but unfortunately a teammate doesn't allow CleanX to get that kill. But what a start from Toronto Ultra on this P1 to now force Boston early off the rotation.
Well, they've lost insight onto the hill, and Cammy's just trying to hold the angle, but it will be a bit of scrap time there for Boston. The rotation's going to be in as well, and Vivid has been found. He got all the way through. I think Bance has found that player. He's 5-1 currently. He knows exactly where he is. Gonna fight Nero, but Nero wins the gunfight. And Boston just slowly but surely trying to make their way up the map here, Stud.
Yeah, they take control of P5. Now, Vivid, it's your turn to attack. He finds that opening kill with the nade. And eventually they execute the break on towards this P2. And they do control the spawns for the time being. Chain it to that P3, but it's all about controlling this street side. Vivid gonna have some assistance here from Nero. That duo of the SMGs trying to hold down the best they can as Vivid and Nero combined for 3 in the feed. They shut down the pressure from Ultra. And now with 25 seconds left, this is exactly what the best case scenario for Boston to now chain it to that P3.
Well, this is where, if you're Ultra, you need to break this now and make a move. CleanX has their first kill, going straight through, gets the second kill as well. Methodz get caught flat-footed, but they have to get past Vivid, and somebody is snuck. It's going to be Bance, of course it is. He's found his way through, and so has the entirety of Ultra.
Big play. Big play right there from Bance to just sneak his way onto the street. He takes down both of those players, and now the spawn zoo flip. What thought was going to be a Boston Breach chain towards that P3. Allow Bance to slip on by. Now they're starting off with this initial time. Boston have to execute the break, the third in break percentage on this map. Nero does find one, but that's 3 in the feed, and Toronto hold strong.
Well, at the moment they are looking for it. The sub-duo, CleanX and Bance, are going in on this map. They really do not want to go out of this series right here and right now. They are still holding full control. But here comes Boston. They've got a little bit of pressure coming through with 2 different directions, but it's not going to work. Bance and Insight combining. More kills for Bance, already 11 and 5.
This has been a flawless hold from Toronto Ultra to give themselves a comfortable cushion off this rotation. Going to put themselves up by almost 60 points going into this P4. Cammy in the bleed player. At least trying to hit the route through backside warehouse. Nero going for the engagement. Cammy's able to win it. And now look what it does across the map. Bance sneaks his way through back train, and this could potentially spawn Boston out.
They can't keep letting him get through.
They can't.
The second one. He's climbing in and almost takes down Methodz, but he will be traded out there. And now Ultra are trying to make this a little bit mixy. Boston desperately trying to hold on by the fingertips. Methodz going to be up that top tower. It's causing issues for Ultra. They need to dig him out. And eventually he is found by Cammy as Ultra flip the script again.
And that's 2 rotations where Boston, they start off with that initial side, but then they lose it when that new hills pops. That's 2 times now where you cannot afford that to happen. Ultra, so a little bit better on their rotation kills. Having the favorable spawns for a majority of these hills so far. That's going to be 3 dead, vacant, all 4 in the feed. Boston need to be able to stop the bleeding. And now they're going into this P5 where not a majority of these squads like to play for a lot of time, but if you're Boston Breach, it's all about keeping this back patrol, keeping this side of the map so you can eventually chain it to that P1.
Already, look at the players coming in from Ultra. They've gone for that fire push already, and they've managed to get it. So important when looking towards P5, and they're doing the work. Boston have to react to it. They know they need to dig this out to secure the spawns for P1.
The time is starting to climb, but Boston at least keeps some map control. Methodz towards train side, able to find that opening 2-piece. You just cannot allow anyone to slip through that street side. It's all going to be on TJ. With a couple players in front of him, he does lose that gunfight to Cammy, and with Cammy winning that gunfight, spawns now flip. Now, if you're Boston, you have to make sure that you're controlling it, but okay, they go right on back. They spawn at top plat, and now this allows Ultra to take control of that P5 and get some good time.
Yeah, they already know they don't have anything they need for it, so they'll probably try and soak a little bit of P5 before they hit this. But already, Cammy trying to make his way through the back. Nero looking forward. Bance actually goes for the reach out, but it's Cammy we need to keep an eye on. The lone player here could make a difference.
Cammy puts himself in a nice spot. 2 players from Boston right around him. The contest is going to be here. Now it's time for Cammy to attack, but Vivid able to win that gunfight. And now Boston are fully set up for P1. Cannot allow Toronto to break on in. You see how aggressive they're being towards train side. Methodz currently on a 3C before he does get taken down. Just got to make sure you're keeping the trades in your favor. But that's a 2-piece in the feed. This is where Ultra can try.
This is huge for Boston if they can somehow hold the gates for just a few seconds. Bance takes down here on the back stairs, looking for the player coming through, and he gets taken down, but Inside just breaks in. They're trying to make this even here, Ultra, and keep their lead alive. Vivid throwing every single bullet at that pillar, and eventually gets the kill. Ultra do find a little bit of a gap here, but not quite enough to get them all the points they wanted.
Now the final 20 is going to go in favor of Ultra as Bance does hit that nade onto Vivid. So now you're forcing Boston Breach. Currently down by 70 points. Try to execute a break on towards this P2. This is the way that they got back into the game the first go around. But with CleanX finding that too, at least puts them in the man advantage. Spawns do flip. Boston now towards warehouse.
Looking for it. The CleanX are going to go down. Vivid and Methodz combining here to hold P2 for just a few seconds. Reinforcements flying in, but Bance gets a kill. It's not going to be quite enough for Ultra. And they want to be careful. They do not want to happen what happened to Boston. Boston held the spawns and they let Bance through and they lost it. They will be still pushing here onto this P2, but pushing may not be enough for them.
Oh, well, they find 3 in the feed. Last player up is going to be Vivid. Just going to decide to hop out of that point, put himself in a great position to at least find that first kill. Now Boston Breach. Know that Toronto is still on the favorable side. That's going to be 3 dead. Last player up is going to be Methodz. Toronto attack this from top middle P5. And best case scenario right now for Ultra. They get this remaining 10 seconds and they have the spawns for next. Boston need to win a rotation.
They really do. You can already see Ultra. I'm going to try and farm this a little bit from this position. Bance is going to be here looking for the players, finds him eventually. And now they'll slowly but surely back up and try to hold every single position. Bance actually going to play a little bit of a dirty route here. Should be able to find the player already going through, and he does. He finds Methodz, knows exactly where he's going to be, but they've got to be careful. Already you can see Boston going to be in the point, and Vivid finds 2. Cammy finds another one. It comes down to the trades, and Vivid does win it. It's still the spawn for Ultra, but they have to get back in.
You have to go. You have to at least hit this time while Boston is not anywhere near this point, and they do exactly that as 3 go down on the feed. Now it all comes down to a 1v1. One player attacking through fire is going to be Methodz. 30 seconds remaining. Bance is able to win a huge one-on-one. And Toronto still in control of the spawns. This remaining 20 seconds is so big as CleanX finds 3 in the feed with the AR in hand. Final 20 going to go in favor of Ultra, and they breach that 200-point mark.
They do. It's down to Boston. It's down to Train. They really want to hold here some glimpse of hope to get back into this game, but Ultra are feeling it. They are channeling gunfights across the map. At the moment, it's Boston to hold as the point flips. Can they keep Ultra at arm's length?
They need to get some good time here. They need to at least get some good time here and also at P5 so they can get themselves back into this game, but it's going to be all-out pressure from Ultra through that trade side. They've at least find the first before he gets traded. And now with that opening 2-piece for Ultra, this might be the plan of attack. A team nade comes in, and now Boston are not getting any time.
TJ has managed to get through Ticket, and he should be able to find some kills here because of it, but CleanX finds another 2 towards it. TJ eventually finds 1, keeping this side neutral for just a second. So CleanX is just throwing bullets over the map, and it's hitting everybody at the moment. And while it is going to be a flip for Ultra, it may not be the flip they wanted at that point.
But if you're Ultra, any seconds that you can get to close out this game is a lot better, because you know Boston Breach, they have to work 2 times harder to make sure they get some good time to not allow Ultra to win off of this P5, but also control the spawns for that P1. Cammy having himself one hell of a bounce back game, sitting at 30 and 18, finds himself on another 3 spree, 19 points away from Toronto Ultra forcing game 5.
They're waiting inside, he's waiting, and a little bit of bad timing. I say that, and somehow he still wins it. They're coming through. Oh, I don't understand what is going on. Ultra are winning gunfights. I just don't expect them to be winning. And Boston, no, they cannot allow Ultra to soak on this. They cannot allow them any seconds. They desperately fight for it, and Boston does a good job, but the spawn comes in for Ultra.
Oh, super aggressive right there from Boston. Even though they found every single kill, this is not the way they wanted to play it. Now they have to focus on the spawn. Methodz does find 1 Vivid with the trade. So now it all comes down to a 2v2. Final 15, gonna go in favor of Boston. It's gonna put them down by only 50 points, but Toronto Ultra, they win their engagements off the rotation. And now, if you're Boston Breach, you have to try to break this P1 or it's gonna be all over.
Look at how far Ultra have pushed out. They have taken all of the map control away from Boston, and Boston now have to just sprint towards this next hill. They cannot afford to slow, but they make the kills. It's going to be inside left. He fights one on outer, but there's a pinch coming in. Boston flip. Boston take control of P1. The light is still alive.
They're staying alive a little longer. The spawns are there now for Boston. Now you can be aggressive through train side, but you want to stay alive. Don't allow a player to set up on this pinch, and it's going to be Cammy. Might have just got some great timing. Through middle, Stone steps, is playing for that player off spawn. He's allowing his teammates to win their engagement in towards the point, but with him getting taken down, it's now time for both of his teammates
Bance
to win their gunfight. Bance finds that opening 2-piece, and Toronto should be able to close this one out.
Well, they're looking for the last few points, and inside gets 1, and that will be the game. That will be Ultra winning a hard point. And it was Ultra the entire way through. They didn't win rotations, and then they did win rotations. Kind of crazy, and I know, Jay, you're gonna hate me for this, but I have to say, Bance made some outrageous plays. It's not about the KD, but he did both.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, because like Boston, they were set up properly. They're 4th overall on this map in rotation win percentage compared to Toronto, who are 7th overall. But when you're allowing Bance, the player that's just playing super slippery on the map, he slips his way past multiple players, even at the P3 to flip the spawns for Ultra, and also at the P4 when Cammy was attacking through that water side. Those are the plays when we see Bance make the impact plays. That's what he does right there for this Ultra team. 32 and 24 to end it off. But the player that really stepped up for me was Cammy. A .59 throughout this series so far, but steps up tremendously for his team. They control the spawns, they control the time, and they force the game 5.
Well, ridiculous all the way through. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this one ends. It's been beautiful to watch close games from both teams, and the tempo felt like it was dialed to 11 there on that Berlin hardpoint. Many times we thought Boston may be able to take it, but Ultra have fought this all the way to one more S&D. Who walks away in this titanic battle? Only time will tell us. So don't go anywhere. We're on to a map 5. It comes up right after the break. We'll see you then.
upgrade your game with a Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Call of Duty League. It is time for a game number 5 between Boston Breach and Toronto Ultra. It's been a bitter fought battle the entire way through. But Standy, we go into the S&D. How are you feeling about it?
This is scary if you're Boston Breach. If it's anything like that map number 2, a clean 6-0 for Toronto Ultra. If you're Boston, you have to make sure you're in 4v2 situations, play the buddy system, get a damn trade. Do not allow Insight to be the last one up on the map because he most likely will clutch the round. But if you're Ultra, you're sitting pretty comfortable on this map. Overall record sitting at 10-6. If you're Boston Breach, though, 3-5 on this map with losing. They played their last 7 on this map. They lost their last. They're 1-6 in their last 7. Hasn't been good for Boston Breach on this Tuscan Search and Destroy. Something has to give. They have to turn this around, and it all starts with the clutch factor. Do not get clutched down when you have the man advantage.
Yeah, they'll be looking to forget that S&D just in every way possible. We'll see whether or not they can find a little bit more magic here in this final one, because this does matter. Game 5 to me always kind of take on a kind of magical quality, simply because I find stats don't really matter. It's the pressure from these two teams playing each other, and the team that just wants it more and is locked in to their strategies usually walks away with it. We will see. Obviously, I say Boston should ignore that map number 2, but I don't know if we can.
No, you can't. You definitely cannot, because that map number 2, if you don't lose it the way that you did, you potentially close this one out in 3, because they clutched up on that map number 1, they clutched up on that map number 3. But now they find themselves all the way into a game 5. Ever since this roster has been formed, overall 1-5 in this mode. They need to try to find some success here, because a 4-1 extra comfort in that top 8 for champs puts them at 170 if they get this win. And I'm pretty sure if Ultra get this win, they actually pass up Boston for that 5th spot and move Boston down to the 6th. So such an important game for both of these teams, especially for Ultra, because they still overall throughout stage 4 are sitting at 1-2. They need this win to even potentially make it into winner's bracket.
Yeah, they do. And the vibes they're feeling on both sides, I kind of feel like there's always going to be a rivalry between these two teams. They're so close in results, they're so close in the standings. You have the Methodz thing coming through as well. And wow, did Bance just throw out the big fish, little fish cardboard box live on the stream?
I have no idea what that means, Bryce. No idea.
Is that just an English thing?
I think so.
I don't know.
But he's getting jiggy. You see him. He got a couple dance moves out there. He's vibing right now. And he's also doesn't have the sunlight on him. I feel like last time me and Lando got to cast him, he had this insane light on him. Looked like he was getting hit directly by the sun.
Well, I think he did in that last game. Started off in outrageous fashion and then made a couple of key plays. I think it was, well, he did it on P3 and then he did it on P4. Somehow he slipped net 2 times to get behind Boston. And call it timing, call it luck, call it game awareness. They were crucial and important. And then the slaying came to play as well. But all of that won't matter if they don't convert it here on map number 5.
Yeah, just to touch on these teams a little bit more on this map. Boston are 52% on their defense, 47% on their offense. But for them, if you're Toronto Ultra, you know the game plan that Boston Breach is about to present. It's all about that A bomb. Boston have went towards that B site 2 times this entire year, and they're at 50%. That means that they've won it once. Every single time other than that, it's been all about this A attack. They have to try to shut that down if you're Ultra. And even if you're Ultra, at least on the attacking side, they are better on their offense than they are on their defense. So if you are Boston, you have to hold strong on defense. You see the stats right there for Ultra. 2nd overall in offensive win percentage, 5th on defense, and 2nd in first blood. Such a big stat right there. First blood for Boston is at 10th. So if you're Methodz, the guy that usually puts himself in towards top fire, towards top church, you're playing for that middle information. You cannot get blooded here.
Well, here we go. Straight out. Boston. Split coming through. TJ gets the first blood on the CleanX. Overextends. And the advantage goes to Boston. And Bance backpedals. Here comes the chow. Nero just guns him.
So now in a 3v2, Nero with some great shots. At least Cammy's able to find one. But TJ with the positioning towards back finds 2 on the round, and you see the rotation of that bomb site already coming in. This should be a free A bomb plant. And the best thing right now for Boston, it is that Insight is not the guy in the 1v3.
Cammy may try and check this with a grenade, but I don't think he's going to be able to do an awful lot. Bomb goes down and Cammy's been seen, and that's the heady, and that's TJ. Already 1 to Boston.
TJ on this map specifically, he's sitting at the best KD for his team, a 1.16, and nothing better than starting off this opening game 5 search and destroy with the 3-piece to your name. Could potentially earn himself a glide bomb. Great start from the young man.
Well, much better start. Much better start for Boston.
Yeah, they went around.
And they're being aggressive straight out towards the middle here. TJ going to be watching over it inside. Throws a stun check, and Boston take mid-map control. Cammy being careful, trying to check his angles. At the moment, Ultra don't have an awful lot of information.
Yeah, but Bance at least sneaks his way in through that fountain area, finds that first blood onto Nero. And usually in this situation, they rotate this bomb back towards A and have a 55% win rate once they get that first blood. So even though they do have the man advantage, a lot of mid-map control coming in from Boston, but they take down Vivid. Now in the 4v2, bomb is going to get planted. What can Methodz and TJ get done?
Must be so frustrating to play against Ultra when they just have that many angles covered, but Methodz deletes insight and opens up a tiny bit of hope for his team. TJ already going to go check the player he thinks might be well, and that jump up's coming, and Cammy gets a very easy pick there in the end. Methodz 1 versus 3, and down he goes. Slow and steady wins the race there for Toronto.
Yeah, it's just all about slowing down on the attacking rounds for both of these teams, seeing how aggressive the opposing team is going to be. You see Boston was able to catch CleanX being aggressive through A, and for Ultra, they catch Nero being aggressive through middle. First blood for both of these squads so far have been a success story, but such a crucial game 5 nonetheless. Toronto tied up at 1.
Here they go. Can they hold the defense a little bit better this time? Wasn't great for him last time. That first kill come through from TJ. What if that changes him up? And almost a first blood there. Cammy throws a long one. More players from Boston stacking that P5. The pressure again will be on Bance.
Bance once again has to try to hold down this position because there's going to be 3 Boston players ready to attack this at any given moment. As the push is going to come in, Bance at least gets 1 before the trade is going to be in. A lot better performance from him to at least find that kill. Now in the 2v2, Methodz and Nero versus Cammy and Insight.
That's a great bait and switch coming in there in the end, and Insight has the sniper. 0 and 2 so far. Is wanting to see if anybody crosses. They've put him in a clutch scenario, and Methodz and Nero aren't even moving. They are trying to wait him out.
This is working perfectly right now in Boston's favor, because right now you're playing the mind games with Insight. With Nero not having dead silence, Insight does get some sound cues of these players from top radio, but Nero was ready for the gunfight. They do not allow Insight to clutch up the round for Toronto. It's great work from Boston. That's 2 rounds now where they have attacked towards B. And keep in mind, before I said, before the snap even started, they've went twice towards that B site. So far, 2 offensive wins for them when they initially attack towards B, get the trades, and eventually have been able to close out the round. Boston now up 2-1.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is I think Nero is making the difference. Obviously, Bance did better that time, but Nero just went full send and sprinted at him before he had an opportunity to reposition. He actually even managed to dodge the stun that was thrown out reflexively to stop that exact scenario. And taking out Bance completely opened it up.
Just now going into the next round, Boston take full mid-map control once again. Nero, he actually puts himself in a great position on the ledge of top fire. You open this window, you'll be able to pop him. He does drop down. This allows Cammy to get that first blood, but it's Nero's turn to attack, and unfortunately, Cammy's ready for it. 4v2 in favor of Toronto.
And then there's Methodz. Master of the pre-aim. Laser-like accuracy, and does take him back down, and it means Ultra have to rethink this just a tad, and there we go again. It's Methodz one more time. They tried it. It didn't work. And now Ultra will be rethinking this. CleanX gonna call the angle, but not the timing.
And TJ's gonna be able to spot him. TJ takes down CleanX, and now all up to Insight in the 1v2. Doesn't commit towards the bomb plant towards A, but Methodz puts himself in a great spot. Even though Inside finds that kill, Methodz is the guy to clutch up that round for Boston. Even in the 4v2, he makes it a 3v2, finds a second onto the player in Bance, trying to cross that bomb towards A. And what a round right there from Boston.
All Methodz. Finds that pick on the Cammy. He goes for the retail after getting 2 up and just repositions every time he needed to. Sometimes slow is better. And Methodz just held the angles. It's 3-1 to Boston. Vivid hasn't yet got a kill, but it hasn't mattered. This time, Ultra going for a very different gravy. They've gone straight through it, but they've lost the trade.
So now into 3v2, Boston, they can play this exactly the way that they want to. They have the man advantage. It's all on the Ultra players to try to make a play. They get that hit marker with the nade, so now they know that at least one player is committing towards that B site. So bomb is starting to rotate its way over towards that A bomb. Now Insight gets taken down, and Methodz, he finds himself another kill on a 5 spree. Can potentially earn himself a glide bomb. Cammy in the 1v3.
And he's basically going to be caught between a rock and a hard place. Methodz going to see him, and he does not even need to take the gunfight. Down he goes. I don't know who got it. It might have been Methodz. Bear in mind, he's playing for a streak.
He is. If Methodz picks up that kill, that puts him on 6 in a row, but TJ takes it right from him. But even at that, Boston breach. Totally different game plan now on Tuscan Search and Destroy to give themselves a comfortable cushion in this S&D. Players are stepping up tremendously. If Methodz can earn this glide bomb, that can cause havoc for the Ultra. Up 4-1 is Boston.
Same position as always, looks for Cammy, and Cammy fires back, and this time Ultra win the trade. They get 2 straight through. The difference. Can they continue to find this TJ towards the back, and he sees the little wink of the light. Decides, I'm not having any of that today.
But he repositions himself, so he's simply just focusing on TJ rotating back towards A. Should be a very, very free kill for CleanX. He spots him. Now it's all up to Methodz in the 1v4. On Methodz, this is basically a non-winnable round. You're on a 5 spree. You probably just want to play your life, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Play for that glide bomb going later into these rounds.
Yeah, no need to move. This is going to be one of the worst 26 seconds you're going to see in COD, but because nothing's going to happen. Basically going to hold this pre-aim. If he's lucky, he will find somebody rotating around the map to find him. Look for his 6th, but if you're Ultra, you don't really need to go looking.
Yeah, you don't want to give him any freebies. You don't want to give him the opportunity to earn that glide bomb a lot sooner. They're all just going to play around the middle of the map. Methodz does get stunned out, so they know his positioning. I think CleanX is actually going to go for the gunfight. Time is out, but eventually doesn't commit towards it. And Ultra secure the attacking round. Keep themselves alive in this game a little longer. But now in the back of their minds, it's all about Methodz. They have to take him down, not allow him to earn that glide.
This is where it gets a little bit nervous for Ultra. They are considerably behind, and feeding Methodz a streak could be the difference. We know how devastating glide bombs can be on this map. What will Methodz do? He's had so much success up top fire and top church. I expect him to probably sit up there again.
Yeah, he's just going to slow this one down, but Boston, they're ready for the push at B once again, and this time Bance is not going to be in a position to at least slow them down. TJ finds that opening kill onto Bance, so now they know he's the player that plays towards B. Let's all commit out towards B5. It's going to be on Cammy. He gets information that a bunch of players are on this side of the map, but they're fully committing for this fight. They're able to get it, and now in the 3v2.
Heading straight back to try and get this plant down. All the way towards the back there is going to be Insight. But he doesn't have the position he wants. CleanX is going to be with him. A 2 versus 3 here for Ultra. And already going to be a 1 versus 3. Insight's going to look for this first one. Does manage to find it. And you can never count him out. He's done this time and time again. But it's never easy, and it's never supposed to happen.
A lot of time for him to work with, though. 25 seconds, he rotates his way back. And unfortunately, he does not check the corner. Just both Boston players playing on totally different sides of the map. Bad timing all around. 10 seconds left. Insight is able to find one, but there's not enough time for him to hop on this defuse. This is going to be an easy round for Boston to now put themselves at game point to potentially close this out this series.
Oh, frustrating for Insight. Just so close to all the Boston players, but he also got the timing to get between them. Just couldn't find them. And now Ultra, after working so hard to get this far, are one round away to falling to Boston Breach.
And Ultra need this win. They need this win as bad as they can. As bad as they want it. Because that winner's bracket for Major 4 can potentially not be in their grasp. But here we go. On their attacking round. Playing for that information of players trying to early attack through P5. They're just giving up full map control to Boston. You already have Nero in their mid alley.
Yeah, and they have no idea he's here either, and CleanX is going to go down for the first blood. Boston with every advantage possible now. Insight doesn't know where Nero is going to be. They don't know he's pushed up. It will prove problematic at some point, and TJ is going to take down Insight. Bance and Cammy left alone to try and salvage this. Bance finds one.
Down to 3v2. 45s to work with. Bance and Cammy have to try to keep Toronto Ultra in this game. Gonna commit towards a B push as all of Boston Breach on the opposite side of the map. And even if they get this bomb planted, if you're Boston Breach, you do not want to at least make it a 2v2. You want to have the man advantage on the retake. His time is starting to take 20 seconds to work with. Eventually, you got to get this bomb down. But TJ, he's already off the rotation. He gives the information to his team. Now it's time to attack.
A 2 versus 2, and Bance is in trouble. TJ is ready for him, and he's just stuck, and he's going to get taken down straight away. That's the game done. Boston Breach find it in the search and destroy. Revenge from map 2. And the defuse makes that 6-2 and 3-2 in the scoreline. Boston go 4-1 this split.
What a beautiful performance from Boston Breach. To play 2 maps that they really haven't played with this squad. Gavutu Hardpoint, they clutched up. They were 0-2 with this roster going into that. They win that one. And in the Gavutu Control, even with the roster change, they have not seen success on that map all year long. They hold Toronto Ultra on 2 defensive rounds to not completing a single segment done. And they find themselves all the way in this game 5, and their game plan was beautiful. They take the map control on defense, and I said it before the map even started, they only attacked that B-bomb 2 times so far throughout this entire year. Pretty sure every single time on their attacking rounds, they were basically just putting themselves towards that P5 area, attacking towards B, not really committing towards the bomb plant, but you could just tell that that was causing mayhem for Toronto Ultra. They were set up for them to consistently play towards A. Boston just had the playbook in the back of their mind, how they were going to execute it, and they executed it flawlessly to close this search out in a 6-2, go 4-1 throughout this stage when a lot of people thought they weren't going to even make winner's bracket. This Boston Breach team is here to stay, and they're looking in prime form for Major 4.
Absolute clinic here onto this one. Ultra, who have looked great onto it before, just weren't able to find anything. Constant pushes through B. Methodz holding down the angles, and there's no clutch insight for Ultra this time around. The S&Ds, they could not be more different.
I think the biggest thing for me, though, has to be the control. This is a Toronto Ultra team so far throughout the stage who have been struggling in hardpoint, who have been struggling in search and destroy. Control has been their only bright light, but they lose that map to Boston Breach. Well, I thought in my mind they should be able to walk away with that. But with them losing that, they find themselves in the game 5, even with the better record. Just the unknown of how Boston are going to decide to play it, catch them off guard with their game plan. And unfortunately now for them, 1-3 in their stage with this last match going up against OpTic Texas to potentially even make it in winner's bracket. Not the start we wanted to see from Toronto Ultra, especially with the way that they left off at Major 3.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a downhill struggle, and we'll have to send it over to the desk for them to break down every part of this game.
Well, it's going to be easy to break down, and it's going to be simple. Boston Breach are just better than ever right now. I'm loving it. By the way, to close out the series, TJ and Nero had a combined 16 and 10 to close it down right there. Ali, they made it look good against Toronto.
No, they really did, and not so much in that first search and destroy, but I'm going to be honest, going into that Game 5, I definitely heavily favored Toronto, and to see Boston Breach put up the fight that they would, I can't wait for the interview later to ask them about that, but again, their respawn looks incredibly dominant. That Berlin, though, it was a little bit of an ego challenge because we've seen Toronto Ultra have so much success on that map across all game modes, and it really showed in that Game 4, but Toronto Ultra, they have been struggling this split.
Oh, big time. Toronto Ultra definitely showed those struggles in this matchup as well. Nameless, what's your opinion about both of these teams in the series that we just had?
First of all, that was a fantastic series. Great display. I love the approach that we saw with Boston Breach, especially the map videos. I think playing both those Gavutus was really smart out of them.
Yeah.
And coming into this one, I love what I saw. There were so many plays throughout this series where I'm like, okay, Boston is the real deal. Like the AR play that we saw on Gavutu, on the rotation to P4, we saw they got a decent amount of time on P3, and then they pushed over towards P4, and it was just a scrap battle back and forth where they're able to get Toronto into the back spawns. I think they even got more time than Toronto on that hill, and they still rotate and get the initial time on P5. I love this Boston Breach team, and then in the search and destroy in the Game 5, the game plan that they had, playing over towards P5, knowing that CleanX loves to play over there, trying to neutralize him, using your team nades together, picking up kills on the bomb site. It was great all around. This is a team that, you know, you heard Study and you heard Bryce talking about it. T4 potential. I really would not be surprised if they make an extremely deep run. And, you know, you talk about teams that had the hardest schedules. Well, Boston was certainly one of them, and they got 4 wins, now sitting at 170.
Yeah, Boston definitely found the right time to currently peak. And in regards to Toronto Ultra, we saw with their schedule, next game is going to be against OpTic Texas. Now, even though both of these teams are really trying to get comfortable before we head over to Brooklyn, when it comes to Toronto, though, I'm starting to get a little concerned because the spark that we did see from them is starting to go away with big losses against really good teams.
For me, it's kind of like 2 things really stand out. For one, it's inconsistency in some of the players like Cammy and CleanX. We saw it specifically in this series. Like, it's not even series by series, it's map by map that they have these inconsistencies. Like, inside, I believe the control went like 31 and 19. Like, your AR is doing what he needs to do on the map, and unfortunately, 2 other players just couldn't really get anything going. And it's also, I feel like they need to re-deepen their map pool. I feel like they had a really large one going into this. Desert Siege, obviously, S&D is a very good map for them. Map 5 Tuscan, that was their second best search and destroy. They just got beat by a Boston Breach team that has been struggling in search and destroy across the board the entire season. So for Toronto Ultra to fall on one of their best maps again, I just think they need to deepen their map pool.
Right. Nameless, what's your opinion about this?
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you can even talk about the map pool when it comes to Gavutu control. Like, that's a map that these guys should be winning against Boston Breach, who are 3-10 when it comes to that map. So for Toronto Ultra, also the inconsistency in the players. You saw it in this series, as I was just talking about. Cammy, map 1, doesn't have a great performance. The ARs in the opposing squad are popping off. And then later in this series, you see CleanX starting to not have the best performance. And we noticed, like, when they're winning these games, it's because Bance makes this crazy miracle play. You saw it in the control. He flanks around, gets a 3-piece. If it isn't for him, they're not winning a lot of these situations. So it shouldn't be so much on an individual.
Right, and speaking about big individuals, let's talk to Methodz, a.k.a. the Game Fuel Victory Spotlight interviewee. Zenny, congrats on the big win.
Huge win. Obviously, my question has to be about the search and destroys because you got to the 6-0 in Desert Siege, which is a map that you previously were good on, and then you pull out the Tuscan search and destroy. Is Desert Siege just not really in your map pool anymore, or are you still just working on solidifying that game mode?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best answer is our respawn has been looking pretty good with Reese, and search and destroy has taken a little longer than we would have liked to find form. Obviously, a big Tuscan win there. As for Siege, we probably got to go back and rework that one. Obviously, did not play well on that one. So some close rounds, obviously some clutches they had. Inside had one. CleanX had a couple pieces. So definitely some work to be done in search.
Zenny, talk to me about, like, all right, so let's rewind. Coming into this, you guys make a roster change into this stage. You know you're on the bubble. Everybody's trying to make it to champs. And you see your schedule, and I would say you guys had the hardest schedule on paper after Major 3 coming into this. So for you guys, do you feel like you've exceeded expectations, or what was the expectation coming into this?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I heard you run your mouth about our roster change, so shove that one down your throat.
True.
It's
Pause.
Definitely exceeding expectations, I guess. I mean, for us, we sort of knew the caliber of team we were, right? We started off the season hot. Things got a little shaky, obviously made a roster change, which is always tough, and felt like Reese was a steal. We were able to bring him in, and people had their opinions, right? People liked it, people didn't like it. Why cap? It's tough with roster changes because when you're playing so well for a good amount of time, you can sort of make a case for any player who through this series or whatever it may be. So I wouldn't say we exceeded expectations in our own minds, but I mean, for others, probably, yeah.
Zen, I got to ask that accent, man. Where are you from? Small question.
I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey. All right, so you going to New York for this next major, man? You ready to make some noise?
Yeah. Hopefully some good restaurants. We got winners bracket secured now. I'm pretty sure 4-1. I really hope we get winners bracket secured. It's crazy. We're at the point in the season now where every match matters so much. You got teams fighting to make champs. Obviously, we're still fighting to make champs, right? Obviously, 4-1 split is good work, but need to go to the major and hopefully bring one home.
Hey, Zenny, kill it, man. We're rooting for you guys, and hey, you have a great day. All right, safe travels to Brooklyn.
Thank you, guys.
No problem. All right.